My name is Dr. Randi Pokladnik. I have an associate degree in environmental engineering, a BA in chemistry, a master's and a PhD in environmental studies. I'm certified in hazardous material regulations. I'm an ISO 1400 environmental auditor. I did my dissertation on dangers to non-timber forest products such as ginseng and golden seal, and I found that mountaintop removal was one, but after I was finished with my dissertation, fracking came along. So this is another threat to a community of people who make a living off non-timber forest products. 25 years ago, my husband and I bought what we thought was our little piece of heaven behind Tappan Lake. Thankfully, it's not Muskingum watershed property. We built our log home ourselves. We selected materials that were eco. We tried to be as sustainable as possible. We have solar panels on our garage. We did everything we could do to make our carbon footprint small. And then fracking came along about a decade ago. And I watched while the community that I lived in became an industrial zone. Now when I leave my house and drive off the road down to 250, I can see a well pad. If I go to the left out towards New Philadelphia, I can see countless areas where they're planning to put pipelines in. When we take our bike ride and we go to the Connaughton Bike Trail, we go out 646. There's another well pad up there. The Falcon pipeline crosses at that place too. There's also many new pipelines being built, which I suspect are because Encino's gotten the property from the Muskingum Watershed District. While the Muskingum Watershed would like to tell you that this is an invisible process, oh no, it's quite visible. And if you'd like to come to my house, I'd be more than happy to take you on a toxic tour of everything that's going on. I drive a little Prius C, and I fear for my life when I go out on the road with my granddaughters and I see these trucks carrying sand, chemicals, and then the lovely brine trucks. Unlike the governor and the Republican Party and this commission, which disregard peer-reviewed science and the marginalized citizens living at the energy frontier, I will speak to the externalities that are associated with fracking. High-pressure hydraulic fracking is excluded from most major federal environmental regulations, even though it has major impacts. These impacts can be categorized into three areas: chemical, physical, and social hazards. Chemical hazards include exposure to volatile organic compounds such as benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylene, as well as hundreds of other compounds classified as carcinogenic or endocrine disrupting, including PFOS, the polyfluoroalkyl sulfonides. And there are other compounds that we have no idea what is actually in some of the fracking fluid because they're considered priority. So how do hazmat people or emergency people on a spill can even address this? I have no idea. These compounds have been shown to contaminate air, soil, and water around fracking sites. Residents are also exposed to small-scale particulate matter, less than 2.5 microns in size, ozone, nitrogen oxides, and inorganic compounds, including heavy metals in soil and water, especially near wastewater disposal sites. Additionally, fracking has caused methane emissions to dramatically increase, undermining the ability of the United States to address climate change. Physical hazards include exposures to noise, lights from flaring, vibrations, ionizing radiation from T-norm brought to the surface during fracking, and increases in radon gas. And just to talk a little bit more about radon gas, when we built our house, because I was a scientist and my husband is an engineer, we'd known about radon gas, even though that was 25 years ago. So we put in a radon system, we just didn't hook it up. And then we found out when they started to frack in the Urechville area, our basement walls were covered with cracks. We did a radon test. Our radon was sky high. Thankfully, we did the test and we were able to remediate the situation and put in a fan to pull the radon out of the basement. But how many other people that live in these areas even realize that this is going on when fracking occurs? And there are peer-reviewed studies to back this up. Social effects of fracking include increased traffic accidents, increased crime rates, increased sex crimes, and prostitution. There was a peer-reviewed study done, and Carroll County was one of the counties included along with another area in North Dakota. And it's true, when these people come in, you've got young men with lots of disposable income away from their families, they have nothing more to do, and the prostitutes follow them, as does the drug industry. There are transient workforces. There are man camps. What is a man camp? Drive down 250. There are 3 man camps along that road. There's a huge man camp in the city of Cadiz. It's actually in a park. These are people that don't live here. They pull their trailers and they hook them up to some kind of a electrical grid, and they camp there basically. They have license plates from North Dakota, South Dakota. They have license plates from Louisiana and Texas. These aren't local workers. There's a handful of local workers that work in the industry, but for the most part, most of these guys are from out of town. There's also the case of earthquakes. I mentioned the radon in our basement. Well, we found out after doing some peer-reviewed research online that there was an earthquake in 2013. There were actually 10 seismic activities, small earthquakes, but earthquakes nonetheless. So the health impacts of fracking, and this is the most serious thing. Why did New York State feel it was essential to ban fracking, and Ohio thinks it's okay? They're the same kind of human beings in both states. Fracking has been linked to preterm births, high-risk pregnancies, asthma, migraine headaches, fatigue, nasal and sinus symptoms, skin disorders, and as well, cancer and endocrine disruption. Just to give the men in the room a little factoid to chew on, you have sperm counts 50% less than your grandfathers. Why? Because you're being exposed to these petrochemicals.
That's right.
It takes courage to stand up to the fossil fuel industry, and sadly, Ohio's Republican politicians are choosing cowardice. They are willing to sacrifice Ohio's $8.9 billion outdoor recreation industry, as well as the health and safety of the residents of Ohio's Appalachian counties, in order to pad the state's coffers. Now, I'll read a quote that was read by Aaron Dunbar earlier, but it's an important quote. It's by Noam Chomsky. I don't know what word in the English language applies to people who are willing to sacrifice the existence of organized human life so they can put a few more dollars into highly overstuffed pockets. Okay, in addition to my science degrees, I hold another title that's probably far more important. It's grandma. These are my 2 granddaughters, Emma Rose and Isabel Sky. They live in Appalachian, Ohio. It is their lives and their health and their future that is at stake. It is not surprising that a large percentage of Ohio's youth leave the state after graduation from college, or that Ohio has a declining population. Who would want to raise a family in a state that caters to fossil fuels, ignores clean air and water, and fights renewable energy?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is obvious that Ohio's political system has been bought by this industry. It is obvious that Appalachian counties in this state are regarded as sacrificial communities. It is obvious that science and health studies do not matter. However, there are still people, as evidenced by this room, who care about the southeast counties of the state and the children that live there. We care about our state parks and our forests, and we aren't going away.
Yes.
Hear, hear.
Yes.